that dangerous.
Listen, Tenma, I've got an election to win. I'm running for re-election in case you had... It's bound to get me real.
I got an election to win, and I want that core.
Hey, I'm voting for the other guy.
Hi, this is not the last time this will be happening. The brain rot for this movie beckons at me like the Green Goblin mask does to Willem Dafoe. Yeah, in my initial analysis of the movie, I kind of skipped over Stone entirely. I wrote him off in my brain. It's just, hee, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He just wants to be elected again. He gets arrested at the end and nothing happens. Yippee! But guys, I think he was trying to turn Metro City into his own fascist regime by abusing their democracy. No, I am not kidding. So let's observe this movie through a critical political lens. So, what even is fascism? I mean, I hope you'd know by this point. Pay attention in your history class, please. Wikipedia defines it as, quote, a far-right, authoritarian, and ultranationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized authority, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy, subordination of individual interests for the perceived good of the nation or race, and strong regimentation of society and the economy. First off, I mean, he already has all the central authority. He's the only guy in charge. I don't see any vice presidents, any smaller political roles around here, not even mention of a secretary, so Metro City only has one president elected by the people via democratic election, given that he says, I'm running for re-election here in case you haven't noticed 30 damn times. I'm not going to go into the implications of the solitary election because I don't have enough evidence about the city of Metro history. What the fuck? I'm not going to go into the implications of the solitary election because I don't have enough evidence about the history of Metro City here. I'd be here speculating for 47 hours straight before hitting a brick wall. So let's just all unanimously agree not to speculate on why Metro City was founded with only one central power, because we'd all be here all day. But if you are going to speculate, please invite me to the group chat. Taking into consideration that President Stone is an insane maniac who abuses his power, let's all ask ourselves, if Metro City is a democracy, how the fuck did he get elected in the first place? However, this also lets the viewer know that the people of Metro City willingly elected Stone into a position of power. Somehow! He, however, is a college dropout, a high school moron, so how was he elected? I couldn't find any educational bearing on presidents running in the US, but I would like to argue that this was intentional subtext to show how dictators rise to power. They take advantage of unfortunate societal circumstances. Look at the prices for things in Metro City and the surface. The most incessant things are $50 United States. That is inflation to the maximum. Now this could say two things about Stone. He either falsely promised during his initial election campaign to bring down inflation and repair the economy to make things more affordable for the general public, or artificially increased inflation rates and taxes to fill his own pockets for governmental power. On the contrary, why would he be elected if he artificially inflated the economy? Fear-mongering! Throughout the entire film, he talks about starting an actual war with the surface, telling Elephant they're in a quote-unquote arms race. You know, like the actual Cold War, when everyone in the world was afraid of nuclear fallout between Russia and the US. However, the surface is kicking rocks with whatever Metro City throws down at them. They quite literally do not have the capacity to defend themselves if Metro City were to invade all their new technology, and everyone would be rendered basic dead! The Peacekeeper has some interesting implications given these statements, because the Peacekeeper is an actual killing machine! It killed Toby without so much as a second glance. It would have killed everyone at the demonstration if it could. How is this possible? Given what the RRF state, we can conclude that the robots of this universe are supposedly following Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. Those being, a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. 2. A robot must obey orders given it by human beings except where such orders would conflict with the first law. 3. A robot must protect its own existence as long as protection does not conflict with the first law. The Peacekeeper throws all these laws out of the window! It harms a human, it does not obey orders from humans, and does not protect its own existence. Now, I think it's reasonable that all robots are legally required to have these laws engraved into their code, and what Zog says about laws being implemented at a certain place and time, as they've been around for only 50 years. I wonder whose fault that was! But the Peacekeeper here simply gets by breaking all of them without any forethought. How is this possible? Stone probably paid them not to implement the laws of robotics into his war-killing machine. Why would the Ministry of Science do the thing, you say? Well, I want to draw attention to what Tenma says about the Ministry of Science and President Stone. Quote,
"You know as well as I do, without military funding, all of our research, including yours, would grind to a halt."
The government is directly funding the Ministry of Science. Why, do you ask? Shouldn't the ministry be making enough money, given that they should be producing, distributing, and reaping the profit of all the robots they create, given that everyone in Metro City seems to have robots waiting hand and foot for them with any given task? No! They are entirely military funded. Theoretically, I think that Stone takes the profit of most robot factories' sales to keep the ministry where he wants them, in a place where they have no choice but to follow his beckoning order under his thumb. Why else do you think he's able to afford such a lavish military with the spirit of freedom and countless soldiers who he can cancel leave for in a moment's notice? Along with that, he's able to afford propaganda! The Our Friends the Robots infomercial is blatant misinformation shown regularly in schools to keep the growing population in line with Stone's desired mentality of his people. It keeps them blissfully unaware of the damage they do to the planet while claiming they don't know what happened to the strange and mysterious surface that they left behind. But the people are rebelling! They are voting for Logan! Now, Robert Logan isn't shown in the movie at all, except a few still images on some hologram screens. However, we can tell that he's a progressive leader, given the way Stone calls him a hippie. However, Stone's also very defensive against Logan, and almost seems unsure if what he's doing is even going to get him reelected at all. So what does he do? Partake in critical thinking? Fuck no! He becomes a paranoid, controlling politician who struggles to grasp what fleeting power he has left by attempting to set up an artificial war that he knows his opponent isn't prepared for, setting himself up for success to keep power over the city at any cost, including the lives of the innocents at the surface. President Stone is pointing a finger to the surface and trying to set up a bogus war incentivized by materialism and ignorance of his people, yet none will blink an eye because they cannot see the harm they will do! They don't care about the surface, they're more concerned about what the next line of service bots from the Ministry of Science can do. Yet in fascism, we all have some form of silent resistance. Dr. Elephant in the beginning is shown demonstrating how his blue can help the Earth, yet Stone labels him as a dangerous idiot with a high IQ. He can't allow the people to see the surface as something that needs to be repaired or something that needs to be saved. He needs it to be seen as something beyond help and to be feared to keep a grasp on the city. With the red and blue cores, Stone simply sees tools. He sees them as technology that will listen to humans' every word. This is only the start of his downfall. In the start of the movie, he's very adamant about re-election via bogus war, and demands that the red core be placed as Peacekeeper instead of the blue core. This in turn gives us an insight to his thought process. He wants to cause as much destruction as possible with this war. He wants to avoid any kind of peace entirely. He, however, doesn't understand the technology before him. When he controls the Peacekeeper, he doesn't seem to fathom that what he's controlling is a fucking weapon of mass destruction! He says, quote, "It's like a video game!" He is so mentally detached from the situation that he sees it as a game. His head is too far into his own ego and power to truly see what happens in front of his eyes. Now, this is where we see the extent of his power over the city. Despite being the one to be the direct cause of Toby's death, he gets all scot-free! Despite having multiple witnesses in the Ministry of Science and the military, but nobody raises a finger against him! Because that is his personal army! They heed his command! Not loyal to the law, but to the man above the law! I'd also like to take a moment to analyze how in the scene with Stone and Tenma, specifically how he manipulates a man who just lost his son, descended into madness trying to recreate him, and discarded that creation. There are consequences to playing God in your silly little lab, Tenma! First, he comes in storming with his cronies and General Heckler, yes, that's his name, look it up, and immediately arrests Elephant with no charges to know where Astro is. Tenma obviously protests to Elephant being arrested, and we get the first instance of manipulation. At first, Stone is all aggressive and accusatory, being very pushy about his re-election, and pushing the narrative of an arms race, which Elephant rightfully calls nonsense. Tenma starts going on about how when he lost his son, he thought, and he never quite finishes that sentence because Stone intervened. Now, look at him before he speaks up. He rolls his eye. He does not give a fuck about Tenma, yet comes in with the, I know, I hate losing. This is what we call feigning empathy and drawing similarity with your victim. He even backs up his claim by telling him to any of his wives. Plural. I low-key think that this was Stone being downright cruel. Hoshi isn't even mentioned in this movie, but he found a way to rub his dead wife in his face. His next sentence, quote, but we've got to get over this personal stuff, Tenma. He's using the we now? We? No! You shouldn't be told to get over your little son. Days later, which by the way, Stone caused! He also strokes his ego by calling him the Minister of Science, reminding him of his position. He then goes on to instruct him down a slope of events of getting the core back, putting it in the Peacekeeper, and quote, letting some good come from this mess. Are you fucking kidding me? We already had something good come out of this. His name is Astro, you sick fuck! He then calls him a good man when he agrees to kill his son. Let's count the manipulation tactics, shall we? President Stone is so fucking idiotically conniving, it drives me to the brink of a mental breakdown. He knows what he's doing. I think. Now you might be listening to me and going, but Janet, this is animated late 2000s kids movie. Surely they wouldn't put such a fascist villain blatantly forefront, right? Now there's a very solid way to identify fascism when looking at human history and the basic correlation between each instance. 1. Powerful and continuing nationalism. 2. Disdain for human rights. 3. Identification of enemies as a unifying cause. 4. Rampant sexism. 5. Controlled mass media. 6. Obsession with national security. 7. Religion and government intertwined. 8. Corporate power protected. 9. Labor power suppressed. 10. Disdain for intellectuals and the arts. 11. Obsession with crime and punishment. And 12. Rampant cronyism and corruption. President Stone checks off more than half the fucking boxes! 1. Powerful and continuing nationalism. Now I think Stone's nationalism throughout the movie claims that things in the city are directly his. The city is his. The Oval Office is his. They elected him, so he must own it, right? The sense of pride that he has. He's too stubborn to let go of anything he's obtained. It's his. His forever. It's his, and nobody can take it from him, right? 2. Stand for human rights. This is blatantly obvious without the population on the surface calling them dwellers and seeing them as less for simply where they live. He's very adamant about killing as many of them as possible as bogus fearmonger the public. Fuck robot games, he pits his personal military into the games and point a bunch of guns at unarmed robot games patrons like a bunch of savages. Need I say more? 3. Identification of an enemy as unifying. Here I'm directly drawing from the supposed arms race with the that the city is in, or so he says. However, the highlight of this is that this is what is bound to get him re-elected. What better way to rally the people to unify them against a group you've exploited as your own personal dump, and claim that they are an enemy for simply trying to survive beneath you with the scraps that you happen to drop them, and murder all of them for your bogus board to cling on whatever power you can. 4. Rampant sexism. It's not really rampant, I just don't want to be called this scientist lady sweetheart and told her to move aside. I think that's a bit weird. Also, the female scientist here is named Dr. Pigknuckle. I don't know why. 5. Controlled mass media. We already see this with a propaganda video in Metro City High. Now, to really hammer in this propaganda, let's analyze this video in full because I've lost complete control of my life. We start off with the origins of Metro City, grossly oversimplified, with the excuse being that it was centuries ago. Sure, if they had technology to lift the city off the ground and into the sky, surely that couldn't have been that long ago. Come on. Then the video goes out of their way to mystify the surface, separating the city from the surface into distinct entities, and creating a situation where misconceptions and misinformation can become. Next, we're showing how citizens of Metro City are incentivized to partake in rampant capitalism and consumerism by showing that robots are our dandy little helpers, silly humans. Stuff we just don't want to do anymore. This is an excuse to keep the population lazy and uneducated. While robots work and the citizens partake in lavish enjoyment, who's gonna think about the environmental impact? Fucking nobody! 6. Obsession with national security. This isn't as obvious as the others, but Stone keeps referring to the surface as a threat of sorts. Either he genuinely believes that, or simply feeds the public lies. It's unclear. We just know that he wants to kill all of them. He, however, literally references national security when he wants Astro dead. He calls it a matter of national security that the Blue Corps be used for his, and only his peacekeeper, which is going to be used for mass murder! He sees anything that goes against his unparalleled power and immediately tries to strike down and steal what he can. That's why he wants the Blue Corps despite favoring the Red one. He recognizes its power and wants it. This isn't national security, it's security of his position! Now, for 7 and 8, I couldn't really find anything that fit the criteria, so, hey, he's not doing everything bad. I think I could find it if I analyzed it a little longer, but I really don't want to. I want to get this video out of my brain! Labor power suppressed. This is more just theoretical, but what's the main source of labor? You know, the ones made to do work for humans and nothing else and are discarded like trash when their purposes can no longer be fulfilled? Also, the robots have their own language that humans cannot understand. If they try to, I don't know, unionize or demand rights, then people wouldn't be able to understand them. This was deliberate. I know some robots like the RF understand human language and speak English, but robots like Mr. Squeegee and Mr. Squirt are entirely non-verbal to human beings. In a way, it reminds me of former President Herbert Hoover demanded that all White House staff be invisible and were expected to hide or jump in a closet when he or the First Lady entered the room. Because they didn't like seeing the working class or interacting with them. This directly parallels real life, and no, I will not hear any counter-argument! 10. Disdain for intellectuals in the office. Here it's just blatant. He calls Elephant a dangerous idiot for wanting to repair their service after they polluted it, and after Tenma calls him a brilliant scientist. Before getting absorbed by the Peacekeeper, he also stupid he is by saying, "Who understands technology? It's a robot, it'll do what I say!" And then he gets eaten. Vor reference. This also doesn't relate to the arts, but he also mocks Elephant trying to comfort Astro when he's about to fucking die, saying, "Boo-hoo-hoo, it's a machine!" I want this man dead in the streets. 11. Obsession with crime and punishment. Multiple times throughout the movie, he's seen arresting people or straight up demanding them to be executed. He arrested Elephant for a split second with no given reason other than he was looking for the Blue Corps. And when Tenma frees Astro, he demands that he be shot for treason! Not anything dangerous, but for treason! Going against his word results in death! 12. Rampant cronyism and corruption. Dome literally has his own gang of cronies. It's called the Army. And the General, he exhibits corruption by literally saying it out loud. He cut taxes for influential friends. That's using power for his advantage with his rich friends. So yeah, Stone's a fascist. I think we should bring back guillotines. But in the movie we have a speck of hope. His fascist empire is topped by one goober, one pair of giant fucking red boots. The dude, the guy, the traumatized one. You know him, you love him. I'm going Stone for disassembly of fascism and the downfall of President Stone. In the film, Stone is eventually arrested and given what he deserves, hopefully a death sentence. So let's take a look at how exactly that plays it. How was such a powerful and menacing dictator ripped from his power? His own hubris? The people rebelling? The working class rising up and murdering him? No. He gets his ass kicked by a traumatized child as he fucking shoots him! Astro's on the run from the government for committing the grand crime of existing due to man's temperament with life and science. He doesn't appear in the film for a good chunk after this, which thank God, because I cannot take his presence. I want to maul him. Anyway, when he manages to capture Astro, he demands that Tenma be the one to take the Blue Corps. The first big mistake. He underestimated how much he manipulated Tenma. He thought he had him right where he wanted, but he couldn't understand him at all. He's so detached from his people that he cannot even comprehend how they feel. So, Tenma sets Astro free, and only then does Stone take matters into his own hands and point a massive gun at Elephant, sentence Tenma to death for treason, and get rewarded by the Peacekeeper. His unwillingness to understand anything outside his strict worldview has led him to becoming one with a weapon of mass destruction, the Peacekeeper Kaiju. I find it funny how he retains the massive fucking chin in his Peacekeeper form. Anyway, he has literally become an amalgamation of destruction and hubris. He rampages all over the city looking for one thing that can destroy him, the Blue Corps, and hopes to absorb it and become unstoppable. He didn't pay attention in physics though. given he flunked out of college and realizes he can't absorb the blue core, so he tries to destroy it and win the election. He destroys buildings, plays with his opponent like a baseball, and doesn't give a second glance to any of the destruction he may cause. He single-mindedly focused on taking what was never his, absorbing it, and proclaiming his ownership of it. However, what is he ultimately foiled by? Pure selflessness from Astro. He knows he'll die. He knows he can stop the Peacekeeper at the cost of his life. But he doesn't even hesitate to protect the people who cared about him, and knowing that they'll be safe, even if he's gone, is enough for him to give everything to protect them. So he's content with the life he lived as the Corps each other. He doesn't die, thank God. But every time I watch that scene where he's like, this is my destiny, I want to cry. Boy Robot last time gave me amazing commentary on my last essay. Genuinely, thank you again. Can we please be mutuals? Anyways, they have a post about it on their Tumblr. You should really go read it. It's genuinely amazing. Again, thank you for all the notes you gave me on my essay. Punishment. Stone unfortunately lives to the end of this. He comes out almost unscathed and bonkers, and is probably arrested after Grace kicks his shin. I wish that was me. He's sent to prison for an undisclosed amount of time along with General Heckler. I think they should kiss in jail. Now, fascist dictators are usually given harsh punishments in real life, so I understand you should be thrown in jail before his execution in the movie. So I'm just headcanoning that after the movie, he had a date with the electric chair. So, what did we learn? President Stone is the textbook definition of a fascist. Straight up. Even through democracy, fascism can wiggle its way through with the right cunning candidate and enough votes for their pearly ass. Fascism can grow anywhere. Politicians can't be trusted. Don't trust the government. They have their hands in everything. And you too can overthrow the government! Metro City is my favorite fascist regime.
There is something, a harmony in the spirit of human beings, that if a piece of work touches on it, then it does endure, because it always has resonance within the sensibility, within the what the French used to call the condition humaine, the human condition.